Video, I'm going to go over why and how to set up your corporate funding, or at least get to a point where it's set up in the right way and it's not going backwards. So it'll give you the foundation to begin, and then I'm going to give you a little more information on building up your personal and what to do and what not to do. So when you have it to a certain point, you call me and hire me, and then I'll take over the rest and finish you out on the build out, because I'm not going to go over all the details on the build out completely, because everybody on the internet is so stupid and they've got it all backwards. And if you hire me, I will show you that, and I'll get you an expedited money into real funding, credit lines, and loans. So let's get into the video. Monitoring your credit, you can use NAV or whatever. It doesn't matter. There's 9 credit bureaus for business credit. I just need you guys to focus on right now basically what not to do. And then when you come to me, I will do the rest, and I could get, if you qualify, as in you have a real business, you can actually make the payments and you're not a liability. Yes, you can get $1 million your first round all day long. I'm going to set up in like 3 phases, like up to 300,000, 500,000, and $1 million, depending on the level you want to get into. But if you're wanting to get into the big money or $300 to $500 range, I'm going to give you good, better, or best pricing, and it's going to be low. Most of it will be on a success fee on the back end, but you have to be prove that you're responsible and be able to handle money and make the payments. Okay, so Moody's, S&P, and Fitch credit ratings and stuff are for real corporations and real money and things like that. And I'm not going to have you guys get into that or worry about it, but I'm going to say when I set up the corporation and you hire me, I'm going to get you funding, and then we're going to get you exponential money. So that means every 6 months, you're probably doubling the money, but it's going to grow exponentially and be able to fund every 3 months. And I could get you up to $10 million credit lines and higher. And if we were to put a corporation on there, if we're able to put commercial real estate on there, you're easily getting past $20 to $50 million credit lines. Nobody else does this, and I'm the only one that can get you this type of funding. But once you hire me, I'm going to give you an example of why you want to keep me on the record, because the success fee allows me to get you the right amount of money in the right places and keep you going. Some people get funding and then they think, well, they learned how to do it when I showed them, when I got them where they need to be. So they want to go do it on their own. And I'm going to show you a prime example of why you want to do that. Like this client here, we have like over $1.5 million in funding, and then they felt like they're good and they want to go do it on their own afterwards, and they totally demolished the file. Because prior, you're looking at like $1 million line, $3 million in equipment, 230,000 in lines, 200 and 300,000, and I got around 100,000 basically for lines and loans and things. So it's all credit lines and loans, maybe over $1 to $3 million. But when a person goes running off their own, they want to go back to funding and start on their own, and then they come out with doing their own thing, and then they come up with getting crap like this and destroyed the file, like 27,000, 1,000, 2,800, just garbage. Now, on top of the garbage, they quit paying on time and ran all their accounts out to 90 days. Now, had they spoke to me and I consulted them on getting their business going and how to handle things, that wouldn't happen. And when you talk about paying me on the back end, there's not a better investment you can do that's going to get you the return on your money. So let's talk about some of the problems when people want to do self-guessing corporations. So basically, everything you've heard about corporations and how you set up is everybody talks about tier one and tier one and two, and do this and get this credit card and this dumbass trade line stuff. Sorry about the cussing, but that alone, tier one and two, is a red flag on its own. So when you listen to all these people on the internet telling you how to build your corporate credit, do this, do that, do tier one, do tier two, and you get all this garbage junk, you gotta throw that whole idea out the door. All I want you guys to do is if you trust me, you want me to get your corporation, get the whole thing set up, that's not dissolved, not stolen, and been active and legit, and get the best corporation and go the farthest, can go publicly traded company or stay private and get the most money, $1 million plus and on up, hire me from the very beginning. But if you're doing that on your own, no matter what, some of these people are saying, go do this, 411 and all that stuff. But the most important thing is, they say Google and everything, but they don't get the real point of it is you have to get on Google Maps. And you have to have a real location on Google Map, and it cannot be a virtual office. It cannot be an executive suite inside of an office suite. It has to be a real physical location by itself, walk-in business, and real business. Now, those two things, no tier one and two, you're going to skip that because it's trash. And after that, you get to this point where you want to hire me before, then I'm going to tell you the next two phases or the next steps on how to really build the file and how to get the maximum amount of money. Also, you probably want to hire me to begin with on the personal level funding because you're going to get the file with the right size trade lines in the right maximum funding ratio, the ratio of how much credit to credit limit you can get. Now, the problem is when you start adding business trade lines, which 90% of them, well, I would say it don't matter. Most business trade lines they sell never show up. That's just a fact. Now, if they do show up, is another problem because business trade lines, it doesn't matter if you got $1 million trade line or whatever it is, and it's from some flaky, generic, fake, junk business. The trade line, who it's from, is what matters, not the amount. Now, on personal, amount matters, yes. On business, yes, amount matters, but business underwriters are the smartest underwriters, and they see these scams all day and night. So if you're going to buy business trade lines, you shouldn't buy them. That's another problem because you're talking about fake trade lines, and they all know it. Now, another problem is also when they put them on there, they backdate them, and they're all wrong anyhow. Like they'll take a 10-year corporation and they'll run it back to like saying they got it at 6 months in, and dumb things like that don't even fit on the file, not to mention that it's fake. So that's what you want to avoid. And when you do the self-guessing, like I said, you're going to get too many inquiries, too many turndowns. The funding ratio is off because you got too low of an amount when you didn't get the full amount of credit. So that doesn't allow you to go to each next level, each round. So that's very critical. And when you're doing personal funding, which if you come to me and I tell you how to set up and everything, make sure you don't have this mistake, is that a lot of people do the personal funding on their own, and you get the DTI maxed out on the personal, and then you keep trying to go on corporation, and the corporation can't go anywhere because they took all your personal money and bought corporation and fake trade lines and got ripped off. So the DTIs on the personal is maxed out. So then the corporate can't get any funding. I will get you the funding the right way on the personal and right way on the corporate, where you don't have to worry about that stuff. But it's very critical about how things are done and not done. Now, also, when you guys get business credit cards with zero APR, not to mention that credit cards are the same way in the same amount, you got small stuff, it destroys a corporation. And a lot of people, everybody that does zero APR business credit cards, all the people pushing that are for people that don't have any real business sense and don't have any general income and no business. So every time the APR comes due, like in a year and a half, or whatever, they can never make the payments and you get late on the corporation. So if you got late on the corporation, 30-day late on a corporation, no matter what size it is, and you're talking about using it for funding, you just destroy the corporation. So same with personal credit. You want to have your credit limits. If I'm doing your personal credit, you want me to get the maximum funding ratio where I don't get files, I get them maxed out every time and go to the next level. But when a person does it on their own, you get declines or the low limits. And if you're doing the personal and you want to do authorized users, which I say do it with people you know, but if you're going to buy authorized users and you can do the primaries that I list, sure, that's fine. But there's going to be a point where we probably take it off where it's not going to show up closed by guarantor, which ruins the file. And also on top of that, everybody pressing these CPNs is another issue, and people trying to get CPN business corporate funding is a problem because the CPN is going to merge with your Social Security card. And when you do the CPN to buy a car or the CPN on the business, that is, well, it's file segregation stuff. And everybody that does the CPN that buys a car or buys a business always thinks that, oh, it's okay, we're going to default on it, or you forget about it and you default, and then you broke like, well, you're sitting on looking at like some serious time because you did some major illegal stuff. And that can all be avoidable. And on top of that, even if you're a good person, say, oh, I'm going to pay it back, or I'm going to set the money aside in escrow and all that stuff, and you think you're Mr. Wonderful and you use a CPN for your personal or your CPN for your business, well, when you bought it from these idiots doing CPN packages, they put the same CPN, like the same address for like 5 or 10 of them because they're lazy and they're making a little bit of money. So when you have that CPN with the same address, and usually if you're going with these other clowns to get funding, they go to the same place. So when one goes down, you're all going down. And it's completely avoidable because you don't really have to go that route and make these dumb mistakes. That's not really smart. Yeah, I know. So Google 411, white pages, all that kind of stuff, listings for your business. Sure, you want to do that. But skip 1 and 2 and skip all the baby trade lines and stuff for your corporation and hire me, and I'll tell you how to get a corporation that's built and made right to get millions of dollars. It's very key that you don't do that. Now, when you do it like everybody else does it, it's automatic red flag already, and it's not going to get very much money. So here's a prime example of fake trade lines. These people are selling aged, backdated trade lines, and they all don't post, and that's why they're all posting, selling this stuff, because they make money on scamming everybody. But you got backdated, fake aged, auto primary, it doesn't work. This guy's pushing all this stuff and pushing these websites, which you might as well save your money, and they're telling you to buy business trade lines. So same with the credit deletions, $500 for 30 days. Well, hey, all this stuff is scams. So this stuff is not going to work because Auto age trade lines do not post. I don't care. There's no proof. They've never done it. They don't. You need $1,000. You need 1,000 client upload, a site visit, and then the bureau is going to contact everybody on the list that is submitted, and it's never going to fall through. Never going to go through. And not only does that, the actual auto dealer has to have all the licensing and everything else in place, and it never falls through. It never works. It cannot work. Maybe that did 10 years ago. They weren't as critical about it, but after all the scams and everything with the primary trade lines, age primary trade lines, they don't work. And on top of the age primary trade lines, if you default on anything, primary age trade line, and it did work, you have a whole nother layer of legal issues and problems. And on top of that, these packages are all fake, lie packages. That's why there's a generic website, so it's easy to burn. And I'm sure it's the same person behind it that's behind 90% of all the scams. And also, mortgage trade line is not possible. I did mortgages for decades, and you cannot add somebody to your mortgage and get it to report. The only way you can do a mortgage is actually do the purchase, and you can't add them on like authorized users and stuff, and it doesn't work. And on top of that, even if it did, the way it's set up is going to be a hindrance versus a benefit. But there was some primary trade lines that they did get to show up that showed up that lasted for like 3 months, open and paid. But the way they reported were so suspect that any normal underwriter could catch it. And those only lasted for a couple weeks before they got figured out and shut down. So you want to save your money and these people take cash, I would not do it. Just telling you ahead of time. And this guy is another one of them. Also promoting another similar site, which is this clown site that's posting fake business credit, CPNs, which, I mean, if you're trying to get an apartment and you got a ton of bad record or something, sure. But if you want to get a real funding or business funding, a CPN, the packages don't work. People tell me all the time. And it merges with your Social Security card. But the main problem is you're talking about if you're adding primary business lines on your corporation, like 2 business loans at $500,000, every lender in the world is going to see the name of that fake generic business trade line that probably reports to some stupid bureau that don't even matter. And if they did see it, it's so blatantly fake, they all know it, and they've seen this a thousand times. 4 business lines and business credit accounts, 24-hour reporting, reports under any name. You gotta save your money because you're just getting ripped off. This is total scammer stuff. Apartment documents with 3 months bank statement, social security card, pay stubs created under any name for a luxury apartment. Okay, for one, national credit line dealership, 3 months bank statements. Okay, for auto loan approval. Okay, so you got to use a CPN to get an auto loan. Well, don't default because you're going to go to prison with a file segregation and a CPN and all these other problems. But on top of all this fake stuff, if you're doing that, you're getting in trouble. But when you're talking about business funding, which is another misconception, is that, get national loan documents for business funding, created tax returns, and bank statements. Well, I hate to tell you that this path has been done so many times. Bank statements don't work because you have to use online logins, and no bank statement funding is going to benefit your business. It's 35 to 50% interest daily, or if you're lucky, on a weekly pay. But if you make or fabricate bank statements and you go to any lending operation in the world, lender, they're not accepted. That stuff's decades back. So basically, every single thing on this website is 100% scam. And the CPN addresses are all linked to the same thing. They don't get funding. The business trade lines are fake, which 99% of them never show up. And even if they did show up, they're with the most ridiculous name on the planet. Every underwriter sees it and it won't get funded. Also, somebody was advertising, oh, get a 10-year primary, and it was some company they had finagled together to report on apartment or rental history out to 10 years. Well, if you're going to pay money for a primary that's 10 years old on an apartment, that doesn't matter, because you can get a general Rental Karma and all these other rental sites back to 3 or 4 years. 10 years at a place isn't that big a deal. And to pay that kind of money and to have something with an obscure fake credit reporting trade line isn't benefiting the file. So they're selling all these things just to make a buck that's not benefiting anybody. So, I mean, I don't know how desperate a person has to be or how dumb to fall for this, but I'm hoping, man, anybody with the brain doesn't, because it's not getting you anywhere. So now I'm going to give you a basic overview on a simplified version on how to build your personal credit. And if you want to hire me or get the corporation and work on your corporation at the same time, that's fine. You can do that as well, or I can help you with that. Or at minimum, you don't think I'm smart or whatever and know what I'm talking about, this will help you either way. But when you start listening to the wrong info and you start doing the wrong things on your corporation or your personal, your file is going to go backwards, be it corporate or personal. And all corporate people doing funding, the maximum they get is credit cards, and they can never maintain it because they can never go from one level to the next level. And they're excited about getting a $100,000 credit card, which is a total joke. And it's a credit card. I mean, when I did credit cards, the maximum credit card I would get is like 800,000, 500,000, those type of ranges. But I only get people with credit lines and loans because it benefits everybody better. And I don't put them on or push the daily pay or the weekly pay, ACH, MCA, toxic business loans, because I can get them a better loan and not ruin their life, because I actually like my clients and I don't want to screw them over. But those pay a lot of money to new brokers, and that's their favorite product of choice. So everybody's going to call them, and that's what they're going to give you. But you would need to have like 30,000 minimum income a month, average 10 to 12 deposits. The smaller deposits, the better, and or up to 50,000 minimum, depends on if you're risky credit. But 30,000, then you can borrow up to like 3 times that amount. And if you pancake it, you could get even more. But it's a daily pay, so your cash flow drops one day on something you didn't expect, and the whole thing freezes. And yes, that is NOPG, technically, but you can violate it very quickly when you have a low drop in your credit, and then it goes to personal, and then they will attach liens to every single thing, and your income, your pay stub, or your self-employed bank account or whatever, and they'll start freezing everything. So they're very dangerous in a way if you don't know what you're doing. But normally you could skip them and be better off. So I'm going to go over how to build your personal file one more time in simplified version without all the websites, so you can get your credit file built up. Minimum $5,000, 3 months payments, and the bigger the better. And not get a bunch of small stuff. The small stuff we need to take off. Age primaries don't work, and the DTI changes at different points of funding, but if you just get to this point and bring me the file and then hire me for funding on your personal or your corporate, then we'll get things set up. A lot of people think that if you have terrible credit and stuff, you can go straight to corporate. Well, you can't, unless you go with the MCA and you're going off the bank statements. But when I say go off the bank statements, it's going off the login into your bank account, not fake bank statements. That doesn't work. It doesn't get any funding. So get that out of your mind. But there's ways to make real money if you have a real file and real business, and you have someone to guide you on how to make real money without getting into problems that don't work and being misled just to waste your money. Okay, so like I said, the primaries, you want to get 4 or 5, and you want to have an auto. You can do the normal auto. You can do the swaplease.com, or buy 2 autos, or buy an auto and a motorcycle, or finance an auto in like any power sports, ATV, or razors or something. The higher the better. So if you have an auto or 2 autos or something, or you want to buy, I don't know, if you got to buy an electric car or something, which sucks, but all that matters now is that you get your file built up. Autos are the absolute best thing to build up your file. Now, like I said before, there's Credit Strong, 30, 20, 10, 5. You want to get the maximum you can get. So Credit Strong does report to, they do have one that reports to your business. That doesn't really matter at this point. What matters if you get the personal set up, and we can do the business at the same time, but I would skip that one because it's small. I know a lot of people saying, oh, go do that and stuff, but that's fallen into the realm of all the things not to do as well. So you have Intrigue Fine Jewelers, Electrofinance, Affirm.com. These are some small ones. You don't really need them, but if you maybe get one if you have to. Care Credit, 20,000. You need a 680 credit score because they do look at the credit score. So your utilities, these are good, even though they're small. It doesn't matter because on utilities and things, we can just cancel the service and it will quit showing up on your credit report. Now, if you're getting the small things like these above, they're going to stay on your credit report, and we're not going to want that. But that's what I'm saying. Your debit card, Tomo Credit, there's 10,000. Your secured cards, like One Finance, Navy Federal, these are some good ones. Make sure everything's 5,000 and up. DCU, Navy Fed. Now, when you go with these lenders and things, doesn't mean you can go straight into getting their other products just because you've been with them 6 months or a year. It doesn't work like that. Everybody says, well, I have a relationship with them. No, it still doesn't matter. It matters like a very small amount. What really matters is if you did that and you want to fund it on your own, you can find out the hard way and get low approvals or declines. These are for this point in building your credit. There's a point when you would go to these, but it's not right after. It takes a while, and you want to have your file built up and get the maximum amount. And maximum amount at Navy would be there's a $50,000 credit loan, personal loan, and then there's some of the loans on business are upwards of $100,000 to $200,000, but those are actually small. They're not big anyways. But I know a lot of clients go do that, and they think, oh, I'm going to go get the $50,000 or the $25,000 credit card or whatever. Well, with Navy, just because you had your secured loan with them doesn't mean you qualify for anything later. I'm just pointing that out right now. Although that Navy Federal loan will, since it's secured, allow you to put it toward the down payment on your car. So you really get 2 birds with 1 stone. So if you're going to buy a car, you would go to Navy, put up the secured money for the secured loan, and borrow against it for your down payment. So that's a double win just from Navy. But just know later on when you you may think I'm lying about it just to be lying, but I'm just telling you right now, if you're going to go get the $50,000 loan, or you want to go hit the $250,000 or however many $200,000 business stuff, that all isn't going to matter just because you've been with them with the car. they still are very critical about the file and the setup for the other. So you can't just go, I've been with them a year and do that. You could go with them and get like their $15,000 overdraft line of protection, credit line of protection for the checking. Yeah, that's easy. But when you want to make the right moves, you would either skip that because there's bigger ones out there, or do that in the right manner, or hire me and then we do it all and get all the maximum amount of money you can get. Some other secured cards, like I went over in the last video, I want to go over all these because it's so critical and important in abbreviated form. So Wells Fargo, Harley, these $5,000 secured cards and things. Okay. Like the rent reporting, the 3 bureau ones that rent 3 bureaus, Boom Pay, eSure Rent, Clear Now, and then the ones do 1 and 2. So I mean, like I said earlier, they will contact your landlord and stuff. So you can't really fake it because they're going to look on the map if it's a real. I don't know about if you said you were renting a room or something. I don't know if that would fly for a couple of years at a low pay. I would just not fake that part. I mean, if you have real rental history, whatever, yeah, use it. If not, don't even, just skip it. But like I said earlier, these ones quit reporting. And then everybody else on the internet's advertising these that are completely stupid and small. Okay, now I went over, these are all what not to do. So this just basic guidelines on how to get your credit file set up and how you want to get your corporate credit set up and what not to do. And then get with me, and on the funding for your corporation, I'll give you 3 choices of levels of funding with a small commitment fee, not that big, just to get you seriously on board and build it. And then we'll do a lot of the funding on the back end. Reasonable commitment fee. But you're going to have to not be young, and if you are young, you have to be very mature and prove that you can make the payments and you're responsible and you can handle money. And when we're going to do this, already know, don't call me unless you are on the plans of getting a real business set up and real cash flow and real money coming in. Because, virtual office, virtual all this stuff, or online bank accounts, all these things don't work. And fake shelf corps with fake everything in the middle isn't getting any real money. If you want to deal with all the other people on the internet and get baby money and go backwards and not get anywhere, call them. But if you're legit and you want to make the right moves and not have any skeletons in your closet and get the max amount of money out of everybody on the internet and keep going exponentially, then definitely give me a call. All right, well, thanks for watching. I'll talk to you guys soon, and have a great night.